Chapter 14, Shaping Culture and Values. So, objectives: explain why shaping culture is a vital function of leadership. Describe the characteristics of a healthy culture as opposed to toxic culture. Explain how leaders can shape culture and values through ceremony, stories, symbols, slogans, selection, socialization, and daily actions. Identify the cultural values associated with adaptability, achievement, involvement, consistency cultures, and the environmental conditions associated with each. Describe the principles of workplace spirituality and spiritual leadership. Culture and norms. So, culture, the set of key values and assumptions, understandings, and norms that is shared by members of an organization and taught to new members as correct. So this is how you have cultures within societies. You have cultures within organizations, you have cultures within families. And this is how people understand how we're supposed to behave based upon this culture. Norms are shared standards that define what behaviors are acceptable and desirable within a group of people. So things that the norms, the normal. What is the normal? The things that people would be doing. Because you can see things when they're not within the norm. So when we look at levels of corporate culture, okay, this is an iceberg right here. And everybody knows that icebergs, what you see on top of the water, above water, is always less than what you see below water. And it's always that's actually sinister, the things you can't see. So you see visible culture that can be seen at the surface level. Invisible, so you like artifacts such as dress, office layout, symbols, slogans, ceremonies. Invisible, express values such as the the penny idea, the HP way, understanding assumptions and deep beliefs such as people care about one another like family. Deep values are shared understandings held by organizational members. So realistically, it's not the ones you see up there that actually it's the ones that's deep rooted. It's the ones that you see that you don't see that's invisible. Importance of culture. It integrates members so that they may know how to relate to one another. So it's basically the culture lets you know is this is how we get along. It helps the organization adapt to external environment, how we operate, how we get along, how we treat each other, what we believe, the works. And it also helps you prepare to how do you adapt and deal with the external environment or organizations. Functions of the culture provides a foundation of shared values. So it gets everybody to have a shared sense of values. We value the same system. The value system is the same versus it being different. And to give you an example, the value system of criminals is different than that of law-abiding citizens. Helps the organization adapt to the external environment. So when you have a shared values and stuff, you understand, then you would deal with certain ways, external things in the external environment, certain ways because of your shared values. External adaptation determines how to meet goals and deal with outsiders. It helps to respond rapidly to customer needs or competitors' moves. Encourages employee commitment to the core purpose of the organization. Determines what is needed to meet external challenges. Embodies the values and assumptions needed for success. So this is how you have this is prepares you. How do we deal with things we encounter external to our organization? But there is a manner in which we would do it. And the manner in which you do it is going to be based upon these things here. Cultural strength, the degree of agreement among employees about the importance of specific values and ways of doing things. So when you have a cultural strength, this is something that this is what binds people together, and they agree that they will do certain things a certain way, and they truly believe in it. And there's a strength, and there's unity in that when you have cultural strength. Toxic versus healthy cultures. Toxic culture in which persistent negative sentiments and infighting cause stress, unhappiness, and lower productivity among subgroups of employees. Healthy culture, culture that promotes positive values, creates an environment in which all people feel valued, commit themselves to the organization's goals, and can meet their needs of personal fulfillment and self-development. Obviously, people have seen toxic before. You've seen it in places where people, a lot of times where people have worked before. And Sometimes people have seen it when they work where it's been healthy. I can tell you there are many people who leave their jobs because of toxic cultures. And there are some places where people actually go to get jobs because they have a reputation of having healthy cultures. Culture gap. The difference between desired and actual values and behaviors. So the cultural gap is the difference between what you would like to be like, what values you would like to have and behave, and how you actually do. Combining culture and performance. So when we look at this, we look at the 4 quadrants. You see quadrant A, high performance, low cultural values. Leaders meet performance goals but fail at upholding cultural values. Quadrant B, leaders, high performance, high cultural values. Leaders achieve both. C, low performance, low cultural values. Leaders don't meet either. Quadrant D, low performance, high cultural values. Leaders do not meet the performance goals but uphold cultural values. So obviously you see quadrant B is where everybody would desire to be. High performance culture, a culture that is based on a solid mission, embodies shared responsive values, and guide decisions and encourage individuals' ownership of both bottom line results and cultural values. Cultural leader, a leader who actively uses signals and symbols to influence cultural culture. So when you have cultural leaders, it may be in the workplace, it may be anywhere, but they have a tendency to, use signals and symbols to influence the corporate culture, and people follow them. Cultural leadership. Cultural leaders influence culture, articulate a vision for the organization culture that embodies employees can be in, heed the day-to-day activities that reinforce the cultural vision. When you think of somebody, and I give you an example of somebody like these leaders of some of these large organizations. When you look at them, it's like they're not just CEOs or founders of organizations. They're cultural leaders. They have a culture and vision that they believe in, and people buy into it. And that's what made Apple Apple. That's what made Microsoft Microsoft. Mechanisms that enact cultural values. So we've got rites and ceremonies, stories, symbols, specialized language, selection, socialization, and daily activities. So ceremony 2, a planned activity that constitutes a special event and is generally conducted for the benefit of an audience. So we all have been to ceremonies before, so we know what they are. They reinforce specific values, create a bond among employees. And so this is why you have a ceremonies of people graduating academies and colleges. And you have things similar for them, retirement ceremonies. Story, a narrative based on true events that is repeated frequently and shared amongst employees. So when you have a story, you have success and things that you share with people and it's shared among them. They're used to illustrate the company's primary values and may not be supported by facts, but consistent with the values and benefits of the organization. So, it's like sometimes people refer to things as tall tales, but you know what? You tell stories. They might be feel-good stories. They may not even be based upon how the actual organization does. Symbol, an object, act, or event that conveys meaning to others. So when you have a symbol, you have situations where you have things, like a lot of times you see those within organizations, they have symbols that which represents their success and their motto and their creed. And a lot of times they're specially designed. Specialized language. Language can shape and influence organizational values and beliefs. Leaders use slogans and statements to express key corporate values. Leaders express and reinforce cultural values through written and public statements. And so I give you an example. Like I'll use one that is really well known. Like the Marines, U.S. Marines. This was well known. They have their specialized language. The few, the proud, the Marines. A lot of people understand, even if they've never served, they hear that, they know what that is. And you have different organizations that will have different slogans, and they use those, and they believe in it, and they push those as part of their culture. Socialization. So the process by which a person learns the cultural values, norms, and behaviors that enable them to fit in with a group of organization. So what you refer to a lot of times is socialization. Is somebody getting used, you get that person who's coming into an organization or community to get them to understand and buy into what everybody else is doing. Get them socialized. Selection and socialization. Companies with healthy cultures have rigorous hiring practices. Socialized people fit in with others in the organization. Common socialization tools. Leaders act as role models, training programs, rituals. So when you look at healthy organizations, they look at the caliber of people they bring in. One of the things is this: if you're trying to have a healthy culture and stuff, try to bring in people that might be a good fit for your organization. Sometimes it's not the most qualified. It's the best fit, the most qualified is not synonymous. You can have somebody, they might not be the most qualified, but they're very qualified, but they're a better fit than the most qualified person who applied for the job. Socialized people fit in with others in the organizations. They'll fall right in because they understand. They may be different type of people, but they understand when they come together, there's a certain type of behavior that they all must convey and abide by. Leaders act as role models. People want to emulate the leaders. They act as role models. You have training programs and you have rituals and things that you do, and things that you do continually over and over to try to get people to become socialized in the manner in which you would like them to be in your organization. Daily actions. Important to maintain the desired culture. Evaluation should include work performance, demonstration, or organizational values. So when you have your daily actions, this is designed to maintain the culture. One of the things you want to do is look at the work performance. Are people performing? Demonstration of organizational values. Are people conveying that, or are they showing things that's not? It's contrary to the organizational values. Organizational values. Enduring beliefs that have worth, merit, and importance to an organization. Concerns, changes in the nature of work, globalization, increasing diversity in the workplace. So you have some concerns when it comes to organizational values. When you start talking about the nature of the work, globalization, and now you're bringing in people from all around the world. You're increasing diversity in the workplace. You got different cultures, different ethnicities, different languages, shifts in the larger society. Population changes, demographics change. Two dimensions to be addressed: the extent to which the competitive environment requires flexibility and stability, extent to which the organization's strategic focus and strength, internal or external. So you have to take into consideration things that flexibility requires, environment requires flexibility and stability, because you're going to be dealing with a lot of unknowns with all this stuff that's coming in from the external world. For corporate culture, for corporate cultures. So we're talking about the flexibility, external focus, stability, you see with the internal. But when we're looking at adaptability, achievement, consistency, and involvement. So adaptability is the culture characterized by values that support the organization's ability to interpret and translate signals from the environment into behavior responses. So it's basically being fluid, to be able to make adjustments, to be able to adapt to different situations as information comes in. Achievement, culture characterized by a clear vision of the organization's goals. Leaders focus on achievement of specific targets. So you think in terms of and you see this a lot of time with sales organizations. They are achievement culture because they have specific targets and monthly goals and quotas that they must meet. Involvement culture in which an internal focus on the involvement and participation of employees to meet changing expectations from the external environment. So you see this a lot of times, particularly when organizations are going through like a reorganization, a restructuring, things along those lines. Achievement culture which an internal focus and consistency orientations towards a stable environment. So this is about advancing achievement and moving forward. Like we have these points that we're trying to meet when it comes to where we're trying to go and what we're trying to do. And it's about achieving those within a certain time, usually within a certain time frame. Ethics, the code of moral ethics and values that governs the behavior of people or group within respect of what's right is wrong. If you have low ethics or no ethics, I can show you a ship that's almost destined to sink. This is the thing that holds. This is when people do the right thing when folks are not looking. And if you have people who are willing to do the right thing when others aren't looking, then you have high ethics. Values based upon leadership. So influence relationship between leaders and followers that is based on shared, strong, internalized values that emphasize a common good and are consistently advocated and acted upon by the leader. So realistically, the leader shares in those values and believes in themselves. They preach that and they practice that and they convey that to others. Leaders influence organizational culture. People follow the leaders. Realistic. This is why when you promote people, you have to make sure you promote the right folks. Demonstrating their personal values, high moral character and stuff. Personal values mean something. So I'll give you an example. If you have a leader you promote and he's good at his job, but let's just face it, he's not very truthful. He lies a lot. That's a problem when it comes to leading others, folks. Now you have a leader that not only management don't trust, but his people don't trust him because he's very frivolous with the truth. Generates trust and respect for employees. Practice spiritual leadership. Values and practices considered as spiritual ideals, including integrity, humility, respect, appreciation for the contributions of others. And this is what you would refer to as back in the day, is just having common decency when it comes to dealing with other folks. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And a lot of times in today's society, that is not the case. Spiritual leadership, the display of values and attitudes and behaviors necessary to intrinsically motivate oneself and others toward a sense of spiritual expression through calling and membership. So even though, you think about this, it's like, what is the spiritual relationship amongst this within the values, attitude, and behaviors necessary to motivate individuals and stuff? These things will bring people together if they're actually put in the workplace by the leaders and followed. So the model of spiritual leadership. So if we look at this, leadership values, attitudes, and behaviors. So if we look right here to the left, we see performance, vision, reward, altruistic, love, effort, hope, faith, works. Now, if you look at the follower needs from spiritual, it needs calling, making a difference, life has meaning, membership, be understood, be appreciated. And if you look at those two, they point to organizational outcome, organizational commitment, and productivity. So when you bring this together, spiritual leadership and followers for spiritual survival, and you bring it together, you get organizational outcomes that actually are productive and help you have commitment and productivity. That concludes this chapter.